Hey everyone, this is the Entrep Guru, and I've gotten a number of requests from persons to run through your Unit 2 SBA. So today, it's for you. We are looking at the business model, and the contents of the business model are as follows. Description of research conducted and summary of findings, description of the venture, mission and vision statement, value proposition, beneficiary, operations, product differentiation, income generation, investment model, and financial analysis. We're going to take a look now at each one of them. So under your description of research conducted and summary of findings, the first area that we have is your objectives. Now, many persons are able to list objectives. However, what they don't pay attention to is whether these objectives are SMART. Objectives should be specific, they should be measurable, they should be attainable, relevant, and time-bound. In addition, they are also supposed to describe their population and sample. Now, when we speak about population, what we are looking at is any persons who may be interested in your particular product, and the sample would be that subsection of that population that you have decided to do your research on. So your population, for example, can be Trinidad and Tobago, but yes, that is a population, but also it could actually be just the northeast corridor of Trinidad and Tobago. And your sample could be, let's say, 50 persons. So your description of your population and sample, you need to be specific exactly who are the people who can be interested in your product, and then afterwards narrow it down in terms of the sample. Now, please ensure that you do this based on research, so you should at least cite your data. The next one would be a description of your data collection method. Now, your data collection, it can be exploratory, it can be descriptive, right? You can also take a look at whether you are engaging in primary research, whether you're engaging in secondary research. You can also take a look at whether the data would be quantitative or qualitative in nature. When it comes to the description of the data collection instruments, please remember the major data collection instrument that you are using would be a questionnaire. Now, the questionnaire, you need to describe the questionnaire, tell me about whether the questions are open-ended or closed-ended, justify why, tell me about when the data would have been collected, how it was collected, and you can also take a look at advantages versus disadvantages of that particular data collection instrument. Now, also do not forget about your secondary sources of data. So also remember that you would have done research via internet, you would have maybe taken a look at books and stuff like that. Don't forget to put those in. The second to last thing that we will take a look at is your presentation of data. Now, when presenting your data, you are asked to do graphs, tables, charts, and one thing that many people ask about, okay, so what should I present? And I always say, present what you think is important to your SBA, especially, or more specifically, if it is that you can actually tell me about the 7 elements of market research, it can actually help in making sure that you are more comprehensive in your coverage of that information. In addition, the last thing that you have to do is a summary of findings. And if you actually use the headings under that, elements of market research, if you use the headings under that, it will be very helpful in order to do a comprehensive summary. So those elements that I'm talking about, product characteristics, market analysis, sales analysis, consumer analysis or customer analysis, promotion, pricing, and also nature and level of competition. It can help in order to do a comprehensive summary of findings. The next area that we have to take a look at is your description of the venture. So why was your venture started? Maybe it is that you had a passion for the area. Maybe it is that you were opportunistic and you saw an opportunity in the market, and therefore you decided to start this business. What exactly is the name of your business? What type of business is it? What So, for example, is it a service-oriented business? Are you offering a product? What is the nature of your business? What industry do you belong to? These are things that you would take a look at, and where exactly is your business located? The next area that you would look at is your mission and vision statement. Now, one thing you have to make sure and note is what is the difference between the two. Your mission statement is telling you what is the current purpose of your business. What was your business set up for in the first place? Now, when persons write this mission, I always ask that they try to ensure that it really shows their business and not just any business in general. The next one is your vision. Where do you see yourself in the future? What's the future state you see your business in? So, mission is looking at what is going on currently, whereas your vision is your future. After this, we move on to your value proposition. And we need to answer the question, how do we create value for our customers? And in this case, what we are trying to do is that we are trying to say here, what will make a customer want to come to my business and pay me money for my product rather than going to someone else? So exactly what is my product or service that I'm offering? But it's not just about what is the product or service, but what would make it stand out? What would make it different? Also, is my product going to be standardized or customized? Now, standardized means that more or less the product is going to be the same across the board. However, with customized, customers have the ability to choose how they would like their product. And therefore, in that case, that might make them want to come to your business. The other one is whether it is that we are doing direct or indirect distribution. Are we liaising directly with the customer, or are we using other mediums? Are we going to a wholesaler, then a retailer, and then to the customer? Now, in that case, if it is that we do direct distribution, sometimes we have more control over how we offer our services to that customer. However, if we are using an indirect means, we may not have as much control. However, the product will be more accessible to the customer. When it comes to internal manufacturing or outsourcing, if it is that you decide to manufacture yourself, you might be able to control quality yourself. However, you may not have the necessary equipment in order to keep costs down. You may not specialize in the manufacturing of that product, so therefore you may not be able to control quality when you really want to. So that is in terms of internal manufacturing. However, when it comes to outsourcing, you might find somebody who specializes in this product, who can make it better and who can make it at a cheaper cost. So it may make more sense then to outsource. So we have to weigh our benefits. The next one is in terms of beneficiary. And we have to answer the question, for whom do we create value? Now, many people leave this part out, which is that first part. Who exactly is your customer? What is your customer profile? Could you describe them to me? Who is your ideal customer? That is one of the first things that you should be able to answer. What is their age range? What income do they have? What are their buying habits? What are their preferences? These are things that can help you later on in terms of targeting that customer properly. You also want to decide whether it is a business-to-business relationship, whether it is a business-to-consumer relationship, or whether you have a business-to-government relationship. Please note that if it is that you have a business-to-consumer, it does not mean that you cannot also have a business-to-business or business-to-government relationship. So, ensure that you know exactly who that customer is. We're continuing on also whether or not you are targeting a local market, a regional market, or an international market. So locally, let's say it's Trinidad and Tobago, regionally, Caribbean, or internationally, we can look at the Americas, we could look at Europe, all of those areas. Then also whether we are looking at a general market, so we are targeting everybody, or it's a niche market where we cater particularly to one segment of that market. The next area is operations. And in this case, we are looking at internally within the business, what is your source of advantage? Sometimes it is that internally, we train our employees so well that their skills are so much better than any other business, that they give us an advantage over everybody else. And people are more willing to come to our business because of the fact that those employees are so well trained. Technology, sometimes you have technologies that no one else has. You have invested in technologies to develop it, so much so that nobody else has it. And therefore, it sets you apart from everybody else. You may also have resources, other types of resources that other persons do not have. And another one would be intellectual property. Sometimes it is that you can have intellectual property over your processes, such as a patent. Sometimes you can have copyright. Sometimes you can have trademarks or trade secrets. It will set you apart from everybody else. The next area that we will take a look at is product differentiation. And in this case, how do we differentiate our product from our competitors? And in the first case, we are looking at operational excellence. Sometimes we just do things better than everybody else. So in terms of how we deal with customers, in terms of how we may order our supplies, in terms of how we may track what is taking place. So maybe it is that customers might be able to see at any point in time where their product is, if it is to be delivered to them. So sometimes we just operate at a higher level compared to everyone else. Sometimes our product quality is way much better. And it can be because of the fact that we are very much innovative in terms of what we do. And that is what innovative leadership refers to. In terms of costs, we might be able to keep costs down. So maybe it is that we have established contracts with our suppliers so that suppliers cannot just raise prices on us. So we will be able to maintain a constant cost for a period of time, for a set period of time. And therefore, we might be able to do something that others are not able to do. We might be able to join up with other persons. So sometimes it is that we may decide, we want to market our product and we may be able to join with other companies. So that's what we mean by networking. So being able to link with other companies in order to promote our products will help in terms of differentiating our product. The next area is income generation, and it's how do you intend to make money? And with this one, the first thing is one that sometimes confuses persons. It's with regards to operating leverage. And what we are trying to look at here is whether or not your expenses are more fixed or are they more variable in nature. If expenses are more fixed in nature, what happens is that, let's say it is that you have changes in terms of how much you produce. If expenses are more fixed, then you still have costs being incurred by your company. However, if it is more variable in nature, then if it is that you don't produce, you would not have as much cost as a company that has a high fixed cost. Volumes. Are you looking to produce a high volume of products, low volume or medium amount? So we are looking at quantity when it comes to that one. When we look at margins, we are looking at your profit margin. Are we looking at a high profit margin or a low profit margin? Usually what is recommended is that if you have a higher volume of products, then maybe it is that you can look at a lower margin because you make up profit in terms of the volume. When it comes to pricing, are we flexible in terms of how we are pricing, or are we looking at a fixed pricing strategy? Otherwise, we look at also revenue sources and exactly how are we making money. Now, most people look at making money just from the sale of products. However, we must be aware that there are other ways also by which we can make money. For example, you can also do ads through your websites or through your social media pages and stuff like that, and therefore make money also. In terms of your investment model, what are the time, scope, and ambitions of the venture? So first of all, in terms of the type of investment model, are we looking at the income model, the subsistence model, the growth model, the speculative model? Which model are we looking at? Please make sure though that your choice of model fits the type of business and the amount of income that you are looking to generate. time and ambitions. Where do you see yourself in 3 years' time? Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Where do you see yourself in 10 years' time? You must have an idea of where you want to go. Scope of ambitions. Are you looking at going locally, regionally, internationally? Where do you see your business expanding to? Or are you happy with just staying in one spot? Size of ambitions. So, are we looking to say that we are going to become a larger company? Are we going to remain medium? Are we going to remain small? So, how exactly do we see our business growing over time? Your financial analysis is the next area. Now, this area is very important, and it's an area where you can either gain very quickly in terms of marks or you can lose. In terms of your financial requests, what is recommended is maybe you can write a letter to a bank or another financial institution requesting how much you would like for your business, and your statement of cash flows, your statement of comprehensive income, and your statement of financial position would be used as backup or for persons to check over to see if it is that your business can meet those financial obligations that you are now going to put yourself into. Now, I would suggest that you literally put the name of the financial institution and requests in terms of what would you need the money for, and detail in terms of interest rates that may be applicable at that point in time. Now, if it is that you are doing so, your statement of cash flows should show the ability to repay those loans if it is that you are given a loan. Your statement of comprehensive income, even if you make a loss, eventually you should be able to show by what date or in what timing would you start to make a profit. And your statement of financial position, please note the other name for it is balance sheet. It should always be reflective of the equation. Assets is equal to liabilities plus capital or any variation of that equation. Now that is the end of my presentation. Feel free to ask any questions under the comments if it is that you need anything cleared up. That's it for now. This is your Entrep guru, Avinash Ramsabag. Please don't forget to like and share.